Myself to be a historian, and I see genetics as a tool for discovering things about the past. For me, the opportunity to go out and meet these people and visit these fascinating places, it's just incredible, you know, it's like strolling through the past.
For Spencer and Pierre, one of the first places to search for clues may be here, in the local market. The Phoenicians may be best understood as some of the ancient world's first traveling salesmen.
Phoenicians were really master salesmen. They had the gift and the ability to persuade other people of the value of their goods and services, you know, to make a dollar.
Flashing eyes, winsome smiles, charm bordering on pushiness. Whatever it takes to make the sale.
You can learn a lot by people's faces. You see people interacting with each other, and it's a reflection of a culture. It's a reflection of their shared history. It's a reflection of the way they've done things over many, many generations.
And as with traveling salesmen the world over, the Phoenicians may have been busy doing more than just selling goods.
As population geneticists, what we study is how people are related to each other. In effect, the history of who had sex with whom.
Are the genes of the Phoenicians hidden in the blood of these modern-day Lebanese and passed down generation to generation? To find out, the geneticists will collect over 2,000 blood samples throughout Lebanon and around the Mediterranean. At the heart of their quest, a Phoenician identity crisis.
Who were they initially in 1200 BC? What about the genetic makeup of the Phoenicians at their genesis? Were they Canaanites?
In the Old Testament, the Canaanites were the people who lived throughout the Levant from before 2000 BC until around 1200 BC. Because they precede the Phoenicians, and because their homelands overlap, most archaeologists believe the Canaanites and the Phoenicians are the same people. But no one has ever proven it.
The archaeology of the Phoenicians suggests that they developed steadily out of the older Canaanite cultures. But it would be really important to know how much genetic continuity there was.
Will this genetic quest confirm the archaeology, or will it reveal something else? A genetic link to a darker legacy. The story, found in ancient Egyptian sources, suggests that a group of marauders, known only as the Sea Peoples, invaded the Levant around 1200 BC. Some scholars believe they mixed with the Canaanites to create a new people, the Phoenicians. Curiously, it is only after the Sea Peoples arrive in the Levant that the Phoenicians race ahead of their competitors. Their boats evolve into large seagoing transports, capable of covering more than 100 miles in a day. They found colonies, build the world's first international cartel, and create a vast commercial empire. But what caused this dramatic leap forward? Did the Sea People simply influence the Canaanites, or did they interbreed with them and become the Phoenicians?
There are a lot of arguments among scholars on just how much impact the Sea Peoples had on the Phoenicians, and whether this had an impact on the Phoenicians' later development as the greatest sailors in the Mediterranean.
Were they influenced genetically by the Sea Peoples? Most of the information we have is hearsay. So it really is breaking new ground to go out and do these studies using genetics. And of course we have to put the genetics into context with the archaeology.
Their search leads them east into the terraced Kadisha Valley. Here, Pierre wants to show Spencer a seminal part of the Phoenician past.
So these are the cedars.
The cedars of the Lord, you call them.
Yeah.
In this tiny protected grove, they find what remains of the fabled cedars of Lebanon, the building blocks of Phoenician civilization. 3,000 years ago, these mountains were covered with them. They built their boats with this durable wood, and then used those ships to transport cedar to the powers of the ancient world. The Egyptian pharaohs treasured cedar for its fragrant resin. King Solomon coveted it and used it to build his legendary Temple of Jerusalem. Cedar may have gotten the Phoenicians into the game, but they sold more than their famous wood. Everything from ostrich eggs to wine to a Phoenician purple dye that became a staple in royal households throughout the ancient world made it onto their ships. Most of these goods, this evidence of their lives, have been lost to time. But where did the people who traded them go? The answer is in the blood.
Okay, off we go.
Tyre was, the key Phoenician port.
There's something magical about this town. It embraces the sea in a way that is really amazing.
When Spencer and Pierre bring their investigation to the ancient Phoenician city of Tyre, they have a tough sell on their hands. How do two complete strangers show up and ask the locals for their blood? The answer becomes apparent pretty quickly. Ask the people who pull their living from the sea.
Certainly most people that I've encountered are really fascinated by this idea that you're going to be able to take something out of their arm which looks identical to the same stuff that you take out of the arm of the person sitting next to them and figure out something about your past.
They are very interested in knowing exactly where they come from. It's very intriguing when you tell them, hey, I can trace back your lineage. They light up.
How does the blood Spencer and Pierre collect today help them uncover the Phoenicians of more than 2,000 years ago? Within our blood is DNA, a molecular blueprint passed on to our children. Each person's blueprint is made of the same 4 building blocks, labeled A, C, G, and T. Repeated in a string some 3 billion letters long. It's the sequence of the letters that determines who you are.
What we as geneticists, and in particular as population geneticists, study is genetic variation, changes in that sequence. These glitches that have occurred in the past that distinguish between individuals.
These variations, or markers, are so rare that when they do occur, they define a unique family line. If you share a marker with another person, you share an ancestor.
That gives us a clue about how far back this ancestry really goes. When did we last share a common ancestor? How far back do the family trees go before we get to that common individual who unites everyone in the tree?
Scientists can use the markers to determine when one group began mixing with another.
Merci.
If they can find markers that connect to the Phoenicians, they will be able to trace Phoenician history through the blood of their descendants.
Okay. Merci, monsieur. 3 cc's of blood from you.
But finding the Phoenician marker could have modern implications. Their results may ripple through the already turbulent waters of Lebanon. For more than 15 years, Lebanon was torn by religious war. For some, even the legacy of the Phoenicians became controversial.
People are very, very concerned that we're going to find that one population perhaps is directly related to the Phoenicians while others are not. And therefore, they have more of a stake in the area. I don't know.
Will their investigation confirm this fear or refute it?
30 years of wars in Lebanon is enough. I think a scientific approach to this would help a lot. That's why I'm doing it. I really want to help. I really want to uncover this.